Good morning, students. Welcome to your read aloud. And today the read aloud is Snails, and it is a non-fiction text. And this week we have been learning about fiction and non-fiction texts. And yesterday I made a 2 days ago I made a T-chart, and we noticed some differences about fiction and non-fiction text, and we charted some differences. And today I'm going to show you another difference in this text, and it is called a header. And nonfiction texts have a header at the top of each page that introduces a new topic. Okay, and I'm going to show you where that is. And headers are usually bold print, just like the vocabulary words are that you find on the index page. And we have been learning about asking questions while we read, and we are now taking it one level deeper, and we are asking and answering questions. And asking questions is a very, very important reading comprehension strategy to use when you read nonfiction text. So here's the I can statement. I can ask and answer questions to better understand what I am reading. Okay, and so we're asking those questions, and we're also trying to find the answers within the text when we read, or we can, after we finish reading the text, we can do some more research and find the answers if they're not in the text. Okay, so I'm going to model that for you, and I'm going to show you where the headers are. Let's get started. Snails by Monica Hughes. And here's our table of contents page. Sometimes they just say contents. They drop off the table of, and the table of contents are usually at the front of nonfiction texts, and they have the headers listed. So these are the topic headers of each page, and then these are the page numbers where you can find that topic on, in case that's all you want to read about in the text. You don't want to read the whole book. Snails. So this is your topic header. This is your header. Snails are small animals that snails. Some snails live on land, and some other snails live in water. So I have a question here. Are there freshwater snails and saltwater snails, or do they just live in one kind of water? That would be one of my questions, and I can go ahead and write it on a post-it if I didn't drop my pen. So that could be a question I have. Do snails live in freshwater? Do water snails live in freshwater, or do water snails live in saltwater, or both? Maybe I'll learn that in the text. I'll keep looking for it. Snail bodies. A snail's body is called a foot. A snail can pull its foot into its shell. Snail tentacles. Okay, this is your header. Snails have 4 tentacles on their heads. 2 tentacles taste and smell. 2 tentacles have eyes. Eye tentacle, tasting and smelling tentacle. In gardens, you might find some in a flower pot. You might find snails in some leaves. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to ask a question right here. Think about a question about finding snails. You can start it, I wonder what. eggs. Baby snails are very small. They have soft shells and bodies. I have another question here. I wonder how many snails survive. It seems like they would make a tasty treat for birds. Little round snails. Birds might want to eat them. I wonder how many snails survive into adulthood. I wonder if it's easy or hard for them to survive. Food for snails. Snails eat the leaves and flowers of dead plants. They eat growing plants too. Snails can be garden pests. Oh, so not everybody likes snails. Some of my hostas look like that. I guess the snails are eating them. I wonder what I can do about getting rid of the snails naturally so poison. Snails in danger. These snails are in danger. They have pulled their bodies inside their shells. So their shells are used for protection. Snails can make foam too. Foam keeps snails safe from predators. Maybe that's how they keep the birds away. Snails in winter. Did any of you ask what happens to snails in winter? Well, here's the answer. Snails hibernate all winter. They go inside their shells and close them up with mucus. And that's it. And we have our glossary and our index. And the index are where the important words can be found. The glossary is like a mini dictionary that explains what those important words are and how to say them in some cases. All right, so today you learned about the header, the feature, the header in nonfiction texts. And when you read, I want you to look for those headers. Look for those headers because the headers are very important. They tell you what the page is going to be about. Snail bodies. This page is all about the snail bodies. It's really important to pay attention to those headers. And you're also learning about asking and trying to find answers to your questions. Now my question was about snails and if they live in salt water or fresh water or both. And that topic wasn't touched on any further in the text. So if I still have that question, I'm looking for my pen. Rossi, did you steal my pencil? Oh, there it is. I'll write it down so I won't forget. And I do that by making a question mark on my Post-it. Do water snails live in salt water or fresh water? And that is my question for today, and I always put the date on it. Okay, and I am going to look that up later, or I'm going to ask an expert. Maybe a gardener might know that. Okay, all right, so today and every day I want you to go ahead and ask those questions while you read and try and find the answers, and look for those headers today while you're reading some nonfiction text. Look for those headers. The headers are important. They tell you what's going to be introduced on the page. All right, fun reading. Go read.